Yeah, eventually, and then we got to contend with AI in another 10 or 20 years. I don't know if these big houses are going to be able to do that anymore. I don't know how they're going to do it as this just grows.
Well, the big houses are still the big houses. They do. I was going to, for my next interview, I'm going to actually research to see what the percentage is, but they're still like easily 60, 70% of the
No, yeah, I don't doubt that.
market. They're huge. They're $1 billion enterprises. And so they've got that. The main thing though, because you got like the best-selling book of 2023 was Harry, and it sold however millions of copies. That's just, you're not going to get that from an indie or self-published distribution, because they have so many lines that they can control on distribution. Um, they can put that book into supermarket stores, as well as the bookstores, as well as the online outlets too. So they're still big. They're still making the money. It's interesting though. When I went to New York last fall, um, and I visited some of the different my publishing relations there, and I met with the the head of Publishers Weekly, and I met with him. I went to his office and met with him. Nobody goes into work anymore. They're all working from home. And when I went there, there's all of the offices there. There was one other person that was filing mail. Otherwise, it was just him. Everybody else, any meetings that had to do with editors, they'd have a Zoom set up in their conference room. And that's how I did it. And I went to go see Library Journal. Same thing. That my person there, who is the head sales rep for the Library Journal, came in, and all the meetings he set up via Skype or via the Skype channel there, because nobody came to work anymore. He said these big publishing houses, these huge, however many stories, 80 stories, 90 stories tall buildings, they can't get out of the leases, and
30 minutes.
They've got one or two floors out of everything that they've rented, and they're paying like however millions of dollars, like $100 million a year for rent, and they're only filling up part of the rooms there just because people work from home now. So it's a new world right now, and
don't worry, that's going to end. You don't have to worry about that. They're getting rid of people working at home. That's more and more companies. The main reason why is and this is true for every company that has people are not in an office. The quality of the work decreases. They've done a dozen studies now, and they're like, no, and even simple stuff like customer service they found has decreased immensely when taken out of an office setting. A lot of times you'll call, you hear a woman's baby in the background crying, or the kid's got a kid running around, or the dog barking. Nobody wants to hear that, especially when they're calling to complain or gripe about something, or when you're calling for tech support and you hear the TV playing in the background. It's just nobody wants to hear that kind of stuff. And the more the more you lose that office setting, the more people think they can get away with shit.
Yeah.
So I've seen some really big companies. Apple said all their employees are coming back. Pretty much all the big tech companies said, no, it isn't. This is pretty much enough of this. And they want them back. And that's like what John was saying, that when you have these big office buildings and you're not using them, either sell them and let everybody stay at home or keep them, because really and truly for companies, buildings like that are an investment. That's money down the line. They were just talking about a company the other day. I forgot which one it was, but just in property, they had $33 billion. So even if the company got in trouble, this is all bought and paid for property they have.
Yeah.
So that's money in the bank is what that is. But somebody just sent me this. Marsha, where are you from, Marsha? New York City. Well, hello, New York. She said she's wondering why this is happening. She said, according to the census, only less than half the population actually read leisure anymore in the country, and that seems to be decreasing 7 to 10% per decade. So at that rate, there'll be less than there won't even be any book sales. It'll have to be something else. So what is it? What I guess what I'm looking for here is what is it? What media is replacing this? Is it
got
just
video
internet?
games? You got video games. People are into that type of stuff. And
I'm just wondering if you're going to see if it doesn't say anything about audiobooks. I'm kind of wondering if there's going to be a sort of a transition where maybe 20% of what used to be traditional readers may turn out to be audiobook
yeah,
listeners.
well, I mean, but it's still only a couple percent of the book market. Audiobooks.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's a couple percent. But you've got as long as you've got a culture that's being intentionally created with a vocabulary of maybe 200 words. That's why you have so much profanity, because they don't know words
Yeah,
to
because
be
they don't
able
know
to
anything
give
else.
their
Yeah.
feelings. So you've got that now, and it's just you keep on dumbing down, which is obviously somebody's strategy to dumb down America and maybe other places too. You're going to have it's they read,
Well, I know
maybe they'll read comics, but otherwise they play video games. They want to watch
a lot of
movies.
videos, a lot of movies. Well, I know in the
Mhm.
80s we were on an increase in readers, and now all of a sudden in the 2000s, 2024 we're on a decrease. And I'm just, I mean, I'm not super concerned as long as half the population is still reading, but it still worries me that what the other half is doing. I mean,
Mhm.
leisure reading is fine, and I know, unfortunately, for a lot of people these days, they're doing a lot of reading at work, so they don't want to read at home. They're reading a lot of garbage that it just burns them out, and they don't want to read it. Well, that's all fine, but what they don't understand is the reader is what helps us get the book to the movie stage. Without the reader, the book ain't never get, unless it's just somebody who's famous already, or somebody just picks up a book. So, oh my God, it's just too unbelievable. We're going to make a movie out of it. Usually, they go through, become a bestseller, whatever, and become a movie later on. And I don't want to lose that spectrum of movies and TV series we get, because all of a sudden we got a bunch of lazy people in our country. It's
Yeah.
because I mean,
Well,
really, quality of anything, video or audio lately has been, saying this politely, lacking is what I'll say.
Hmm.
I just,
yeah, I'm not a movie person. I'm do books, but it's interesting. I was with my doctor. I'm doing a handling on my knee. I messed up when I ran a marathon several years ago, and so I was concerned because I do a lot of radio. I do my podcast and I do TV, and I'm always concerned about remembering all the different factoids, all the different
it's a
things, and
lot to keep in your head.
remembering correctly. So I said, what you know, I said, because I got this podcast, I read almost a book. I read basically a book a week to prepare for it. And he said one of the best things you can do to make sure you have your faculties with you all the way as you get older is reading.
Yeah.
That it
Mhm.
forces your brain and all the processes there to work. And so that's one of the best things you can do to maintain your facilities and not have problems with um, any type of memory deficit and that type of stuff, which so many people are experiencing now. So that's one of the
Yeah,
best things you can actually do is read.
and same goes for additional to that is like physical exercise, resistance training, all of those things as well actually have a very important brain link too to
Yeah.
healthy cognitive,
Mm.
basically your cognitive health as you age too.
Yeah,
Create
So
some all them
lifting,
endorphins in your brain. All of that helps out.
lifting weights and reading, like
yeah.
Well,
that kind of
you
stuff.
got the new joggers now with the little keyboards on them. You can watch little sceneries or watch movies or read a book. And what do you mean, Jessica? You can't read and jog at the same. You can't. So you got to be sitting in the chair to read, is what you're telling me, right? Okay, no, I understand that. Some people can't be trying to read the book, but
Not while you're driving. No, you don't. You don't.
no. Well, she says she's got one of those. She likes to jog at home, but she can't seem to focus enough to read while she's jogging. She's
Well,
jogging.
yeah, you can listen there.
Yeah, she said. Well, she said that, and then she found some texting that makes the text like 5 times larger. See, what the problem is? It's only like 2 sentences on the screen, so it takes forever to read. I'm like, whatever, chick. Just sit, you go enjoy your little jog. No, my doctor told me not to jog. He said I can do all the walking I want, but not to be jogging. He said no, not because of my heart, because I got knees and backs and all kind of stuff. I was crazy when I was young. That's all I can say. Yeah, so there's lots of aches and pains there. Actually, they take good care. There's no aches and pains, just problems. I can't be doing certain things.
You know what? I'm curious
Stephanie,
also
yeah.
with Spencer on tipsy, because I have to leave at 1:45 till I'm invited to a birthday party.
Oh, happy
Yeah,
birthday to
no,
somebody
not
out there.
yeah. It's a state senator, Anthony
Yeah.
Portantino, who's running for Congress, and so it's mostly a fundraiser for him in the guise of a birthday party. But I was invited
He
to that,
stinks like
so
a dog.
he's going to be hopefully he's replacing Adam Schiff as the
God, I'll throw a
congressman.
freaking party if somebody replaces Shift.
So
I
anyway,
will.
so he's trimming out. So I met him at the Halloween Christmas break because we're the host for that. So But I was curious in for you, Spencer, because I know we're getting close to the last half hour here,
Yeah.
or 20 minutes or so. What would you give as a tip for a writer trying to make it? Because you have an intense job as a paramedic. You've got an intense objective to become a medical doctor, and you're writing. So, what would you give in terms of a tip or advice for someone who's got a lot of activities going on, but who still wants to be a writer?
Well, I'd say my best dressed advice for that would be you got to be a bit unreasonable about it, right? Like you got to carve out that time, no matter how little time that is, right? It's
Yeah,
because the thing about writing is you can't just write one day and then not do it for 6 months. And then, you can't be like that. You got to be consistent. And consistency is how you grow that muscle. It's how you grow anything, right? Is every day or as often as possible, right? So even if it's for, and I apply this to working out too, like even if it's just for 5, 10, 20 minutes a day, I do it. And so the habit's always there, right? The habit's alive, even if it's just a short amount of time. I kept the habit alive.
right.
And the habit of writing is what enabled me to, become a somewhat decent writer, so or an award-winning author in the context.
There you go.
Of
I
the
like
podcast,
I like the
right?
second. I like the second.
Yeah,
version.
yeah. Well, you got to be humble about it, but yeah, like so, like just carve out that time, no matter how little it is, and in some ways, you do have to get your priorities sorted out and be more efficient for sure. Like not scroll on Twitter for 3 hours or whatever. I'm guilty of that too. You
Yes,
get
I can
scrolling
understand.
and time can fly, right? But really just sitting down and making that determination that I want to write, I need to write, I want that to be part of my life, and I'm taking no prisoners, right? I'm gonna carve out this time, and nothing else is gonna touch it. I don't care what, right? Like you got to be, close the door, and just nothing can get in for a little bit, no matter how long that is. And as you entrench that habit more and more, you'll probably start suddenly finding more time to do it, you know? So,
That makes sense.
but you can't the biggest thing is just to not say, oh, I'll do it someday, right? It's when I have more time or when this happens or when that happens, right? People
It'll
tell
never
me that.
happen.
Yeah. People tell me that all the time about all sorts of things, right? And I see a lot of people that are, at the end of their lives, and a lot of them tell me their regrets, and they're like, "Oh, I wish I'd done this. I wish I'd done that." And I don't want that to be me with regards to writing, for example.
I hear that.
So, or if anything that I want to try, right? So,
Yeah. So Joe,
So
you
it's
listen
like-
to that advice there. You take that advice from Spencer and finish that book of yours.
Like, you know how busy
So-
my life is. You look, you see, and
There
see,
we
this is
go.
my
There we
other
go. There we
job.
go.
This
He's
is
heard
my
that so
other
many
job.
times. That's just what Spencer was talking about.
And
Yeah,
that's,
but just-
my baby needs love.
But so make the time, no matter how little it is, make that a habit. Don't put it off for tomorrow, and like start where you are, wherever you are. Just start now, And
Yeah.
who cares? And if it stinks, it stinks. But you keep going, and you find that it gets better and better,
Yeah.
And the rest is history.
It's
So.
dealing with life every day. You just got to keep on plugging away. What's
Yeah.
that? Banana, whatever that name is. That's just ridiculous. Anytime your name is like 5 things long, I'm not going to say it. I'm just telling you ahead of time. So what do you got for us? We ain't got much time, so you better spit it out quick. Oh, well,
Sorry,
yeah,
what?
no. So anyway, crazy girl over here. She just wants to know who your personal favorite authors. And I ask this of a lot of authors. Sometimes I get an answer. Sometimes I go, I don't exactly know. But anyway, she really wanted to know who your personal authors are, and if you have any movies or books you would personally recommend to a single woman, 30 years old with no kids and bored out of her mind.
Whew, wow, no one's ever asked me that kind of question.
And
before,
while
I
he's
will
answering
say.
that, I've got to sign off here now. So thank you very much. Good seeing you again,
John,
Spencer.
I'll talk to you
Thanks
soon,
very
baby.
much.
Be
I'll
good.
talk to you a bit later. Okay, great. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, be
See
sure
ya.
to check John out. WritersOfTheFuture.com, people.
Yep.
All right. So the question, what, like my favorite authors and what books I recommend?
Yeah, she said what you would recommend for a 30-year-old woman who's no kids, not married, and bored out of her mind. That's exactly how she
Well,
wrote it.
It depends what your tastes are as a writer, right? But like my favorite authors are like, if you want to be occupied for a long time on a lot of very long, well-written books, I mean, Brandon Sanderson has certainly got that very
He
well
does.
put out, I would say. So he's probably my favorite author. Like his various different series are all very well written and fantastic read. I'm reading them right now still because there's so many of them. So, but other authors, my second favorite would be Brian McClellan, and he writes more of the Powder Mage series or the trilogies, and that's more again more sword and sorcery fantasy, if you call it, more from in the view of you know flintlocks and
Yeah.
sailing ships, so like 1700s flintlock fantasy if you're into that kind of thing. So those are my two favorite authors, but it depends on your taste, right? Like I don't know what this
So
lady's
what?
into.
So a banana, whatever the hell your name is. What do you like? I know if you listen to us, it's got to be a fantasy or sci-fi or something along those. So you just like escapist stuff. So as long as it's something that's not real, you're okay. I understand. Okay, she said as long as it's not real and it gives her an escape. That's what she's looking for. She said she just wants to pick up a book, sit back and read it, and just forget what the hell's going on around her and just disappear into the book. Well, I don't know, chick. That's a tall. Well, I mean, there's lots of books I'm sure that can do that, and I'm
Yeah,
sure.
lots. Yeah. Like
Uh,
the ones that did it for me would be again by those two offers I mentioned there, and by extension, be it Terry Brooks or Brent Weeks or you know a whole bunch of other ones, right? Like I got lost in those books, and maybe check them out and see if you get lost in it too. You might be surprised. That's all I can say on that.
yes, there's a lot of good books out, but if you don't go pick one up and read it, you're not going to know.
Hmm.
Um, well, to be honest with y'all, I mean, if you're just looking for some fast reading, I would pick up a couple of the anthologies and
True. Yeah,
read.
you could do
Yes,
that.
well, I say fast reading. For some people, it's going to be faster than others, but the stories are not real long. Oh, there's 12 to 14 per book, and they're good stories, and they're going to be different. They're not all going to be the same genre. It's going to and I noticed they try to put them in the book so they kind of play along with each other and as a way the genres stack up, but they're not the same genre. So you might have some fantasy, you might have some punk, you might have some steampunk, you might have some deep sci-fi, you might have some near fantasy, you might have some near sci-fi. I mean, it's just depends on what the person. I forgot how many genres you can write in for Writers of Future. I'd have to go look on the website to be sure, but well, it's at least 8.
Yeah, it's like speculative fiction in the broad sense, right? But
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, I tell people when they're writing, think of like PG-13. PG
Mhm.
17 will work, but PG-13 would be even a better way to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Somewhere in that group is where you should be when you submit a book to them. Well, because if it's really heavy gore, really heavy sex, they're not going to accept it. They're going to kick it back.
Yeah,
Uh,
that happened to
you,
me too. That happened to
yeah.
me.
Yeah. Well, because you don't know until you try.
Yeah,
You get
exactly.
into a book and you get this train of thought and you're moving along with it, and then somebody says, "Oh, you can't do that. You got to remove that from your train of thought." It's not exactly the easiest thing to do, especially if it's something that's needs to be in there to move the story to the next point. Well, Bobby, I couldn't even tell you how many books are on the planet right now. Over a billion for sure. Over a billion for sure. Yes, if you go worldwide, there's more than a billion books on the planet. Yes, I don't. I'm talking about individual books. I'm not talking about stories. If we start talking about how many books there are on the planet, there's more than a billion. You want to know how I know? Because there are 8 billion people on the planet, and everybody owns at least one book. So even if it's a Bible, it's at least one book. So yeah, there's at least 8 or 10 billion books on the planet, or more probably.
According to Google, a quick Google search says there's over like 158 million books, but like in terms of like just
Stories.
published
Yeah.
books, and
Okay.
then copies more. That's according to Dr. Google. Who knows? There's
Yeah,
lots of
that's kind
books.
of low since we're on this side. I forgot what the Christians said. At one time, the Catholics said there was more than 2 billion Bibles on the planet.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's
That wouldn't be surprising.
what last I checked, there was almost 2 billion Christians on it. I mean, 2 million Catholics on it. Or I think it was like 1.4 billion Catholics, and when you add in Christians, like 2.5. It's all the same Bible, people. And I wouldn't even read that. I'd go back and read because we're not going to get into this. It's too much, too complicated. The Bible you read today ain't even the original Bible that was written. So I don't even know what you're arguing with me about. No, you don't have to believe me. You can work it backwards. So I had requested. This was oh god, like 30 years ago. I had requested. I wanted to go to the Honeycombs in the Vatican because there was some things I wanted to look at. Well, I got several requests, but one of the things they showed me was a Bible from it was from 882 or something. So the guy was flipping it with this weird little sticky thing. Even if you were there, you wouldn't be allowed to touch it, and you have to have masks and stuff. So they actually flip it for you. I think it's in honeycomb too. And everything's. I think everything was in Greek or in Latin. It might have been in Latin. I'm not sure. Whatever it was, I couldn't read it, so they were translating it for me. And none of it sounded like the original Bibles or the Bibles we have today. None of it. It sounded like a whole different thing. It was freaky weird. And then you got the King James version, which is what most people are reading today, but that's only because what's his name needed to get divorced. So I mean, it's changed a lot. That's all I can tell you. Don't argue with me. Educate yourself and find out what you're actually reading and why you're reading what you're reading. It's not that hard to do. We do it because we get requests for different shows dealing with different Bibles like the Quran and and what stories came from where. Well, Noah, believe it or not, it's a 6,000-year-old story. And it's actually several stories in the modern Bibles that are way older than the Bible itself, way older than Christianity. Yeah, believe it or not. Yeah, no, the Great Flood, the Sumerians and the Egyptians talk about the Great Flood 6,000 years ago. So it kind of messes up with the storytelling, is all I got to tell y'all. That's why it's called faith, Jimmy. That's why it's called faith. Have faith. That's all I can tell you. I tell this to people all the time because, I talk about a lot of different things and religion gets drug up into it sometimes. So you should never allow someone like me to be able to affect your beliefs. If you truly believe in whatever it is that you believe in, and I mean, you have that devout, it shouldn't matter what I say. It shouldn't even phase you. You should just be like, oh, he's some stupid alien from some planet who wants to, do whatever. You just shouldn't. If I was devoutly believing in something, what you said would not change my views. No, I'm not religious. I'm spiritual, I guess would be a better way of saying it. I'm not religious. I'm just not. Everybody has their own rights. A good friend of mine's always bitching about karma this, karma that, karma this. I told I was sent here to teach karma, not to learn. He's like, wait, what? I said, well, somebody's got to be teaching this shit, right? And I said, if y'all are learning, somebody got to be teaching it. Ever since I said that, he's like, I hate you. I hate you. He said, I never thought about it. Some people might just be teaching it. I was like, I'm sure they're learning as well. What you got, Stephanie, for who? I've never even heard the name. Okay, well, that's a better question. What is his favorite movie? I don't know how he's got a favorite movie.
Okay. Yeah, I can answer that question.
So
I don't really watch. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, like I don't watch that many. Like I'm not really a movie guy. I would say like I watch maybe a handful a year, if that.
Yeah, that's probably what I do. A handful a year.
Yeah, but I'd say Apocalypse Now was probably.
Ooh, it's a good one.
That's a good one. That's because I read Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness before watching the movie, and I really liked the Heart of Darkness. It was a great book, and then of course the Heart of Darkness is part of what inspired the Apocalypse Now, the movie itself. So the movie was just, as a reader, I was like, holy crap, this is cool. Vietnam version of the book, really. And it was, so that was probably my favorite, I would say.
It's a good movie.
Like I'm also really into, like, if you've heard of Miyazaki, he's a Japanese filmmaker. He makes gorgeous animated films, like all hand drawn. So I also really like his films too. They're very,
you know where I learned about that guy? I was watching, what was that? Legends of Tomorrow, one of the DC series, and they actually talk about him in one of the episodes. They actually go to Japan to get this guy who's drawing these octopuses that are eating everybody, and they actually talk about this guy. And I had to look him up to see exactly who they were talking. Yeah, they would throw stuff in, weird stuff like that, and it's a DC series, but oh no, it's off the air now, people. It's like I went like 9 or 10 or 7 or 8, I think, years it went. Yeah, it's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. Sci-fi series. So, Michael, where are you from, Michael? Los Angeles. I don't know if I'm gonna ask you a question. You one of them LA people. He just wants to know if you got any series you'd recommend
for
watching.
sci-fi.
Yeah, for sci-fi. He said sci-fi or fantasy is actually what he said.
Whew.
That's a tough one. The new series are scarce right now.
Yeah, like I haven't really watched any of the new series, and really I was more into like series. You know what? Like the first bit of The Witcher was good. I didn't watch the other seasons, but the first season was good. I like that.
Yeah.
But but I'm into like more of the historical fiction, like Vikings, or stuff like Breaking Bad.
That's
I
good.
really like Breaking Bad. That was really good. So,
Yeah,
but
those are
I
good series.
haven't actually watched many fantasy like series or sci-fi series really. I'm just too busy reading the books, I guess.
Yeah, probably so. Actually, well, to be honest with you, in the last 5 years, I've only watched a handful, and two of those was Altered Carbon and Expanse. And
Oh, The Expanse. I've seen clips of that. It looks pretty good, I would say.
Expanse is weird. Season 1 is really good. Season 2 is pretty good. I think it's season 3. One of the seasons completely suck. It might be 4. I think it's season 4. It just it's hard to get through that particular season. And it should have been a better one, but they got 6 seasons out of it. But I hate that they even say it now, because today, 6 seasons is what. In the old days, you'd get, if when you were doing it, you'd get 6 years, which would be probably 125 episodes. Today, you get 6 years. And usually it takes more than 6 years to get them. You get about 62 episodes. It just bites. And somebody was bitching about Doctor Who the other day because the first 8 Doctors did 50 a year. Well, yeah, okay, it was a whole different world back then. And then it switched over to 25 a year. But now it's, now the new Doctors, I think, does 10 or 12 a year. And I don't know how you keep your fan base when you're only doing 12 a year, though. It's hard. I know I forget about them. I don't watch them. I don't see them unless somebody reminds me, oh, Joe, this was really good. You need to go watch it or something like that. And then I'll go watch it. But anything that has that short of a season, I forget. What are you talking about, Jimmy? Oh, well, have you seen? He wants to know if you've seen Star Trek Discovery. That's an arguable one.
Discovery?
Yeah.
No, I've seen like like the old Star Trek or Deep Space Nine or
Yeah.
a bit of what was the other one? Either way, like the older ones back in like the
Yeah.
90s,
Yeah. Yeah.
2000s,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Deep Space Nine. You had Voyager.
And then the
Yeah. Yeah.
classic one with
Yeah.
Patrick Stewart. With
Yeah.
Patrick Stewart.
Generations. Yeah. Yeah. Generations.
Yeah.
And then after that, you had Enterprise came out, which is a few years after all of them, which Scott Bakula was the captain. And then you got the 3 new ones. You had Discovery, Picard, and Strange New Worlds. Strange New Worlds is pretty good. Strange New Worlds is strange. You know what Strange New Worlds is? It's the old Star Trek. Kirk Star Trek is basically what it is. It's not a series of put together. Each show stands independently. It's basically that kind of series. So you're not going to really see a bunch of like Discovery. Each season was just a show. It was basically just one big ass show the whole entire time. And unfortunately for Discovery, even though it is good sci-fi, it is crap when it comes to Star Trek. It took so many liberties that you couldn't even call it Star Trek anymore. That's why they finally just went to the future and tried to get away from the genre altogether.
Mm-hmm.
They were just effing up. So, I mean, somebody got in there and thought they were going to change it. And unfortunately, I don't think they realized, but Star Trek fans are, pretty rigid in what they believe in. I don't know,
Gotta be
guys.
careful. Gotta be careful. Yeah.
Well, no, I'm not that rigid of a Star Trek. I like Star Trek and I like Star Wars, but I'm not that rigid of a fan. I'm not going to hold you uh, completely to the old standards of the shows, because things change and technologies change and understandings of the worlds and universes change. So sometimes you have to change to keep up. Sometimes you just change because you think you can do a better story.
Yeah, but there's always like a distribution where it's like, you can go too far either way.
Yeah, you
It's
can.
that
And
sweet
that's the
spot that's
problem.
hard to hit. Yeah.
No, John, we're going to be out of here in about 4 or 5 minutes, because we started about 4 or 5 minutes. What do you got? Favorite what? Oh, you said music. I'm sorry. That looked like jibber jabber. I know it says musician, but when you first wrote it, it looked like jibber jabber. There was like little dollar signs in there and little eyeballs and stuff. I mean, come on, dude. I pay money when I have to do mind reading. So anyway, what's your question? I did see that. So he's got a question. So there was a European book that came out that you read, but the book was set to music. So as you turned the page and read the story, there was actually a low music that played in the background, like one of them $5 gift store cards you buy.
Really.
Yeah, I read about it. It was a while back, and it was just strange. The guy was, he would throw him through it. He turned a page, and each page had a little tune. I guess it had a little one of them little things in there. It just played a little tune, and I was like, "What the?" And it was real low. I guess it was to enhance the story. I wish I could remember the name of the book.
That's interesting. Never heard of that.
It was a very strange thing, and the guy who was touting it said it's going to be a thing in the future, and I never heard about it since. But he just wrote me about it. Yeah, no, I think it was. I want to say it was in England, in London or somewhere.
Hmm.
Not in London. It was in one of them. You know what? It was in one. Yeah, you're right. It was in one of them Doctor Who towns. Cardiff, I think, is where it was. I think the same place they staged the alien. Oh, that was great. Have you ever seen that footage? Oh, so there's a guy who dresses up in this 12-foot alien costume. He looks like an alien. He's walking around town in his alien costume, running up to CC cameras and shaking them and shit. So they sent the cops out after him. Well, British cops don't carry guns, so he's, at least he's lucky about that. So the cops pull up. You see two different cop cars pull up, and they get out the car, and the guys are, they get back in their car and haul ass. It was like watching comedy, man. And then somebody comes back with a gun, and he's out pulling his head off. No, don't shoot me, don't shoot. This is what was that? About 6-7 years ago? Yeah, it was a little while back, but it was. I don't know who got this stupid idea, why, but. And no, we're gonna. I'll say that before we go, but and then when y'all can bring it up on Wednesday's show on UFO Undercover. But yes, Elon Musk said he doesn't think aliens exist in the universe or in our galaxy. Let me rephrase that. I was like, you're on crack, Elon. Even the government now realizes aliens exist. You mean, what do you think? Look, I'm not going to get into all of that. Aliens, if they exist for whatever reasons. Look, first off, any life form that's born off this planet is an alien, whatever it is. It could be a freaking amoeba. It's still an alien. I guarantee you they will find. I said this 25 years ago. They were going to find water on Mars, and they would probably find at least microbiological life, probably things like funguses and spores. Well, they found that. They know there's liquid water on Mars now, and they know for a fact that when the ice cap recedes at the Arctic pole, that something's there growing. It shrinks when the ice cap comes in, and it grows when it goes away. So obviously there's something there alive. And then there's been methane and oxygen plumes on Mars, not little plumes, big plumes. The first time we ever found one was with Voyager. I mean, not Voyager, with Viking. And we found it again with Viking 2. And then they said, oh, it was something to experiment. But now we have found it with all the rovers. Oh, yeah, I did see the helicopters. It wasn't responding yesterday. I haven't heard anything else about it. Yeah, that's the last I heard. So, yeah, there's a pretty good chance that there's life on Mars. Well, I don't know if it's intelligent. I don't think so. And if it is, oh, well, we missed out. It's probably underground, but there's definitely life on Mars other than what we think. Mars has everything it's supposed to have life. It has heat. It has atmosphere. It has gravity. It has liquid water. All those things are conducive to life. Look at our own planet. You get shit in the desert. The black smoke is in the bottom of the Marinara Trench. I mean, look, life lives everywhere here. So don't think just because Mars is dry on the top, it's not wet somewhere else. Or, we know for sure it had oceans on it. So there's probably water locked in under the ground somewhere. Yeah, we'll find it. It won't take that much longer. If at the rate Elon's going, probably in a decade, maybe two, they'll find some kind of life. What I'm waiting to see is not that they're going to find life. I think they're going to find life on several of the moons and stuff. What I'm waiting to see is when we find like an artifact. That's what I'm waiting to see. When we go to where these so-called pyramids are, and where all those ruins look like they're ruins, and they actually go up and say, "Oh shit, they really are ruins." That's what I want to see. Nothing else really matters. As far as finding microbes or rats or birds or whatever it may be on a planet, I have no doubt we're going to find that. But I'm just waiting to see when we see Spencer standing out with the book on. Anyway, you tell them where they can find you. We got to get out of here, but tell them where they can find you and what you're going to be doing in the future. And if, what do you mean is he single? He's in the whole side of the other planet right now. What are you even worried about that?
Yeah, that's I mean,
that's not even your business question.
I mean, getting a bit personal here, aren't we? But
yeah, I know he might like aliens, as far as you know. You better just stay. It's the funniest damn thing that we get these kind of questions, and we do almost every guest, except for some of the more cranky guests. But I don't know what it is. I mean, are y'all that desperate people? I mean, he's good looking, but that's not what I mean. All right, that came out the wrong way.
Oh,
but
thank you very much, sir.
I apologize for that, Spencer. That came out the wrong way. But it's called the internet. There's lots of thousands of hundreds of dating sites on there. And go find you a spouse. I just thought it was rude. Great. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So anyway, where they can find me and stuff?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Tell them where they
All
can
right,
get you.
Yeah, so basically I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and I have my personal website as well. It's spencerseculin.net for my personal website. And basically everything else you can find just by Googling my name, because I haven't seen anyone else at all with my name at all. So it seems like
That's a
a
good
very
start.
uncommon. It's basically, yeah. So just Google Spencer Seculin and you'll probably find something about me. That's for sure.
Yes.
So that's my best dressed recommendation, I would say.
So, guys, girls, if you forget, all you gotta do is come back, listen to the archive, or post it up, and or just skip to the back, and you'll know where his address is. Janine, no, we're going. What do you mean, New York City? He's in Ireland, not New York City. What are you? Wait, were y'all even listening tonight? Really? I'm
Yeah,
beginning to
I'm in
wonder.
Dublin right now.
Oh
It's
yeah,
11 p.m. Jeez,
yes,
it's
yes.
almost midnight.
Man's got to go to bed. Look. He's studying to be. Okay, guys, real quick. He's studying to be a doctor. Oh, that's why you probably asked that question, huh? Okay, I see you, dog. Um, he's studying to be. None of this is easy. I have several friends that are going through med school, and none of it is easy. None of it. No, it's work, and it's not just. You have to retain. It's not like you can just pass a test and go on. This is stuff you need to retain because you may need it in the future. Yes, unfortunately, that's just how it is. What do you mean take a needle? That's for the nurse, man. Doctors ain't supposed to be doing that. Nurse is supposed to be doing that. I'm sorry. I'm gonna get in trouble now anyway. I'm gonna get you in trouble, Spence. Let me get out of here.
No comment. No
Yeah,
comment.
that's a nurse. Wait, if the doctors do that, what the hell are the nurses gonna do? I mean, really, come on. Anyway, we're out of here. I hope everybody enjoyed it evening night. Remember, you can find us here every Saturday from 3 to 5 p.m. Central Time. Of course, I'll be here 6 to 8 on Wednesday. 9 to usually about 1 a.m. on Fridays, and Mondays when I'm doing Science and Beyond, it's usually 3 to 5. So you can catch us doing that. No, three Science and Beyond is just science. It's no flippy side science. It's just hardcore science. I'm a geek. I can't help it, man. I am truly in my heart. I am a geek. But anyway, on that note, we got to get out of here. Everybody enjoy your Saturday, and for everybody who's listening to us and it's Sunday, I hope you have a happy Monday tomorrow. And for that note, good night. Stay tuned for dun 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 the Gray Zone with Michelle.
Take
Enough of that. I feel like I'm back in the '60s or some shit. Man, look, people. Don't even start emailing me, people. Don't you even dare. We're not even going there tonight. No, I know what War Pigs are. One of my friends, uh, Steven, was the biggest Black Sabbath fan I ever met in my entire life. He used to drive me crazy with this. Let's listen, Joe. Come on, let's listen. I'm like, let's listen. Oh, you're gonna love it, man. It's Black Sabbath, man. It's Black Sabbath, man. And I'm like, really, Steve? Like, yeah, you're gonna love Black Sabbath, man. I'm like, Hey, welcome, Sean. Oh, I know the other Jay's. There he is.
Hey, how you doing, Joe? How you doing, Jay?
Hey, man.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going
So
well.
the beginning of War Pigs is cool for this show, but only the beginning. The rest of it is just too much. No, Clary, just get
But
over this.
but the thing is, though, they had a really bad reputation back in the day. But no one, I mean, I guess in maybe the music magazines, drummer magazines, and guitar magazines, and whatnot, they talk about them. But they were actually very good musicians, every one of those guys. So it wasn't like they were, a bunch of schlackers, just out there making money.
Well,
They actually were talented.
Steve made me listen, and I like some of their music because and that because Ozzy and Steve just pounded me with him because I was like, stop, enough is enough, man. And then Iron Man came out, and I was like, oh, I'm not kind of like this, and but I was doing other things back then, so my taste in music has changed. It was a different world. That's all I can say, people. It was different. It was whatever the hell time it was. I can't even remember. I'm too old to remember that far back.
The Black Sabbath was the '70s, right? It wasn't.
Yeah.
Wasn't that
Yeah,
far back.
It was pretty much the 70s. Yeah, they broke into some 80s stuff, and they might have dropped something. Well, no, they were Ozzy in the 90s. So Ozzy did.
No, Ozzy in the '80s. I think that. I mean,
Yeah, I
at
really
least-
was Ozzy in the 80s. Yeah, it was. And Ozzy was Ozzy. I seen Ozzy. First time I ever seen Ozzy was at Tulane Stadium in the rain, biting a bat's head off. I'm like, wow, who is this weirdo? I was thinking I was like 13 or something. I was like, no way, man. What the hell is this? I was surprised my mom even let me go because she was such a freak about that kind of stuff. I like Ozzy for a lot of things. I mean, I still can't understand what he's saying when he's talking, but That's my car. Like, what the fuck did you just say? Bleep bleep. And his car. You ever hear him when he's trying to talk to his car? He's did a couple of clips where he's trying to teach his car to listen to it. Shit is hilarious. The car is just like, no way, dude. I don't know what the hell you're saying.
He's lucky he's got his wife, man, because he'd be
Yeah, he is.
lost.
Oh, he
Like,
would be
she's
too.
smart. She's the smart one.
She is a smart one, and she made sure they hung on to the money and the fame, and she's come out on her own. You know, I like her because she's one of those wives who actually stepped out and made a difference. Not like the wife that, well, got the poor comedian slapped in the face because Will Smith's got a little dick. Oh wait, did I say that out loud? Son of a bitch! I'm sorry, people. I did not mean to say that out loud. That just slipped out of my mouth. I was thinking that was not meant to. I meant to say he had penis envy. Okay, I'm sorry. I can be crude some nights. People get freaked out because they're so used to me being one way and they see me in radio and they're like, Joe, you're kind of rude. Yeah, I can be rude when I want to be. Look, you know, what's her face? What's her name?
Jada Pinkett Smith.
Yeah. She can't. The girl is, she's warped. And let me tell you what, if my wife had her own TV show and all she did was go in there and talk about me on the TV, we'd be divorced. We'd be divorced. I'd be all into that shit, or she'd be dead, one or the other, and I'd be in prison because that I don't know why you'd want to do that to your old man or your old lady. That shows no loyalty whatsoever. And no way you're going to tell me he didn't get upset about it because he was running around pouting off with these little 12-year-olds around the country. No, Chris, he wasn't really 12-year-olds. They were like 19. They were barely legal. You ever see them TV, them porn books says barely legal? That's what he was doing, barely legal. Yes. Right out of their training bras. That's what he was going for. Well, you know, they're naive when they're that age. You can get away with more. What are you talking about? Women get to be like 30 or 40. You ain't getting shit over. They get to be like, what are you, stupid? No,
well, and also the younger victims are less likely to make a big noise.
No, that's true too. It's no, we don't mean it. Jada Smith is warped. That's all I can tell y'all guys. I mean, she's warped.
It's one strange lady.
So they have their own thing, so they can fool around. You know, they have their. Of course, nobody's ever seen any one of them fooling around, which kind of bothers me a little bit. Well, you know, you think if you're having affairs and you're famous like these two, or somebody would have got you on some camera somewhere. So I wonder how much is actually real and how much is actually just blown up from somebody's mouth. Because Jada seems that type because she always wanted to be the famous one. I think she's always had issues with Will's fame. I've seen her a couple of times, you know, talk about TV shows and why he got a break and she didn't get a break. Oh, because he had a thing between his legs and I didn't and stuff like that. And
or maybe the fact is that he has actual
it was
talent,
funny when
he was more talented than she is.
Yes, and when he was young, he was funny as all hell, man. I mean, he was just hilarious. And you know, and she wasn't. She was like, "I want to kill you."
Mm-hmm. He was one of those few old school type of entertainers that could sing, dance, comedy, drama.
Yeah, you do everything.
You do everything.
Yeah.
Oh no,
except
Chris,
control himself.
No, Chris, this is the only show I can curse on. I'm not allowed to curse on the other. Actually, I just don't. I really have pretty strict rules on the network about cursing, but this is a late night news show, so we can get away with just about anything here. Except when Jay starts stripping, I got to turn the camera off. I get a little shook. That's enough for me. But
someone start up a can, will you?
I seen the other show on last week. I'm like, oh wait, where's the button? Where's the button? Give me the button.
Where's the off button? Where's the off button?
Jesus. Oh man, what's that, Chris? No, we love everybody on this network. Yeah. And you're just stupid enough to get in front of us. That's your own dumbass fault. So I can tell you. No, there's a lot of stuff in the news.
If we don't like it, we don't make fun of you. So I mean, that's the way it goes.
Oh, so I love this. So this guy, about 21 months ago, was giving a big lecture to the EU people in NATO and how NATO is not needed anymore, and we should just break NATO up and do away with NATO. So he was on stage today in some big conglomerate meeting in the EU, and they asked him, "So do you still feel that way today, sir?" And you know he wanted to say yes. You just know he did. He was like, "No, man, we need to build NATO up."
Few wars going on. The U.S. is sending bombs over to the Iranian. I don't think so.
So Russia's now threatening to nuke Kiev, Berlin, and London. So first up, in case you didn't know, both Germany and England are NATO countries. So that means no more Russia because NATO will wipe them from the face of the planet in a matter of days.
I mean,
even if China,
it's going to
even
be
if
all
China
out
gets in,
attack.
yeah, even if China gets in, they're still going to die. It just NATO is ruthless, and I mean they've got more military than people know.
If they bomb those 3 cities, I don't think China's going to back them at all. China's probably going to be like Sweden. Like,
Well,
hey,
China might
think if you need
China-
to pass your territory, just don't drop anything. Just
China might think is if they catch NATO off guard and Russia can roll in some troops through Poland and all, they might think, hey, this is an opportune time. But in the end, in the end, they have to know. Worst case scenario, America still has 5,429 nuclear warheads available for use. So, guys,
and how many of those are on submarines right now, floating around in the
and there's
ocean
quite a few of them
unknown.
sitting on mobile launches, and quite a few of them sitting on the ground. So, in the end, people, they won't. We have plenty enough firepower to wipe everybody else on the planet out 2, 3, maybe even 4 times. Not like the old days when we have 12,000 of them bitches, and Russia.
We
had
have enough nukes to nuke the
15,000.
nukes that we just nuked the nukes with.
So, well, the problem is, Chris, or I'm gonna call you Kim Jong tonight since you're being a smart ass. So, Kim Jong, the problem really is the United States is going to knock out a lot of these, and Elon's going to knock out a lot of these, but 5,000.
Well, that's to be
that's
seen.
a
I mean,
lot.
he's threatening to do it, but
That's a
how
lot,
fast
man.
are his machines and how accurate are they? I mean, we're talking. How fast is his satellite going?
They don't have to be. Oh, Elon can knock out. Elon's got it. Elon's already figured out what he's going to do. So when he sees it break the atmosphere,
I hope he's a man of his word. He's able to do it.
Well, he's done so far. He's done everything he said he's done, from electric cars to landing rocket ships. So I got.
That's what I'm saying. And if he
already demonstrated.
Do it.
Well, he demonstrated
it.
So.
Shot.
Well, he's already demonstrated. So what he did is there was a piece of space junk moving. I think it was like 46,000 miles an hour, just cruising along. So he redirected one of the satellites that wasn't giving signal, was damaged, and just whacked that bitch straight out into space. Wasn't even an effort. Their tracking systems is so much better than ours. Russia, this tells you how good their tracking system is. So Russia's been bouncing off of Starlink to track the Ukrainians. That, man, look, that's pathetic. When you got to steal the enemy. Wait, they've also been using their internet. So it tells you something right off the bat. Russia was not the power I thought Russia was. Even if Russia comes rolling out with a bunch of stuff, I just don't think. I think that Putin and his ancestors or his predecessors have just been living on the threat that Russia was this big, bad, awesome machine. But Russia's been broke for 4 or 5 decades.
Is it that the state is broke, or that what they just stopped producing?
I think they started. I think for every one tank made, the money for 5 tanks went out to the oligarchs.
Yeah,
and I think that's what really happened. So today, because somebody asked the other day what happened to all the brand new tanks he had that he was rolling over to the Ukraine from somewhere, and they just disappeared. Well, there's a picture that makes it look like it's one. You remember the old days when they used to put the pieces of wood out and they'd paint them up like tanks, but they were only like on one side.
Like a standee, yeah.
That's what these look like. So they might have busted him.
But by the way,
you showed that picture, Joe, a few shows ago, weeks and weeks ago, of all of their bombers on a tarmac somewhere in, like, what was that secret place they have up there?
Oh yeah, they want to die. What were you saying? Yeah, they want to die.
By the way, we used to do that in training to the U.S. military, and it works better than you think.
Oh, I bet you it does, because they
just
look
like
real.
fiberglass turrets, and then you do something else, and you can get longbow Apache helicopters to attack you all night long. I'm not going to say what.
They did that
they classified the footage afterwards.
I bet you they did.
We're like, how did it work? How well did it work? And they're like, no comment. And
it worked on D-Day when they stormed the beaches in Normandy. They had some fake cutouts to fool the Nazis to go towards the decoy areas, and they were going up basically chasing cardboard gun targets.
Well, there's something else you can also do to their radars, but I'll leave that.
Yes. Let's not get Jay arrested now.
Yeah, exactly.
We both got security clearances. They might come get Jay now. And the rest of the audience, for that matter.
They like my dad was in top secret stuff with his company, basically his whole life till he retired. So my phones have been tapped since I was a kid. So I'm not at all adverse to the fact that the NSA is on the other end of my telephone at certain points of the day. Probably there all the time.
NSA's on the they're on the other end of every telephone. It just goes
Yeah,
to
they
a
are, but
server
there
somewhere.
are certain telephones they listen to more than others. So, like,
Yeah.
Well,
Joe the plumber, they couldn't care less unless he says bomb, bomb, bomb 3 times in a row. Then they're going to go after him. Me, when I pick up the phone, like, oh, there's that guy's kid again. Let's see what he's talking about. Okay, it's nothing about us. Good.
Yeah, they've been running. I mean, they ran Carnivore for a while, but now they get more sophisticated stuff. They ran Echelon for a while, and they got more sophisticated stuff. Then they ran Green Lantern, and Green Lantern was only supposed to listen for keywords. So, like, if Sean said, 3 or 4 words, like I'm gonna blow up Putin or some shit, it would key something off, and then it would run a search and see if he was actually a threat or if it's not. So if for a show like this, mostly they would ignore most of what we were saying because they've been listening long enough that they know we're keyword enough. They're not going to pay attention. Plus, I probably killed enough keywords that they're just don't even worry about that ass. Just ignore him. You're wasting good computer space. But they do it, and they still do it. And I
They do
have
the same thing on YouTube too. Like you can not YouTube, but you can see on your retention graphs. There'll be like it'll be kind of just straight line, and then there'll be this spike. It'll go from like 30 to 100, and then right back down. And if you listen to what's said in those discussions, it's something that they probably don't want people saying.
It's weird because I mean I know Green Lantern, if it's text, audio, or video, it's scanned by them. Now it's scanned at a high speed. It's done at real, and YouTube uses basically the same technologies to scan. Like the other day, I got a thing thrown off from 3 years ago. I'm like, really? So at that time, and I'm really thinking about suing YouTube over this. So at that time, it met their criteria. So YouTube changed your criteria really without telling anybody what the new criteria actually was. Oh, they give you some bullshit guideline that doesn't really quite explain what it is. So on a news show, you can't really say, well, that's not true, because a lot of times, like the Russia hoax. Okay, if you said it was a hoax, YouTube threw you off. Now YouTube's being sued by several people because, of course, it wasn't a hoax. So Russia fell for the scam. I mean, YouTube fell for the scam, and here we are. You can't let.
Well, I don't think they fell for anything. I think they were instructed.
No, they might have been. What's that, Ricky? Hold on, I was drinking Coke. Wait, what? Russia's just. A lot of people think World War III is on its way. I don't think it's not. I don't think it's going to be what people think it is. No, it's not going to be everybody launches nukes and we all die. That's not going to be what it is, because nobody really wants to die. Putin does not want to die. Xi Jinping does not want to die. Uncle Cracker Fartface doesn't want to die. Well, I don't know. He don't know if he's alive or dead anyway. But the next guy coming in is not going to want to die. And none of and if, like they say, Obama's running Biden, well, if that's true, Obama don't want to die. He's kind of one of those cowardly guys anyway. Likes to hide behind people. Oh, there is a rumor, and y'all can tell me what y'all think about that. There is a rumor that Michelle Obama is going to put her hat into the ring and run for president. So my thing is, she can't wait too long, since the Democrats have delegates. She'd have to come in as an independent, because if not, she's got to beat Joe Biden, and Joe Biden just can't say, okay, I quit and you can have it. It doesn't quite work that way. So I'm not sure. And I don't know what states, some of the states may disqualify her. I don't know how that's going to work.
It could be he goes through the process, gets the nomination, then has a quote unquote health issue.
Well, that would give it to Kamala Harris. If she was running with him she would get it automatically.
There's probably some process in the Democratic Party where they have like a deliberation and then they choose some heir apparent. And I think they'd find some way to kind of move Kamala Harris out and then bring in someone who's even worse. Which is
there'd be somebody from the
they don't
without getting in trouble. Yeah,
they're not going Newsom, because Newsom got his ass handed to him by what's his face down in Florida, and he retired.
DeSantis,
Newsom can't go against Trump. He doesn't have what it takes. Trump will eat him for lunch, and it's too easy to make fun of Gavin. He's done too many stupid things, so he's out there. They would like to, but I think the Democrats realized when they did the 2 debates, him and Santis just eating for lunch, and and I think that was it. Now, what I read was each state decides whether or not you can run. So it doesn't matter what the Democratic Party says. The actual state the state Democratic Party has to say, and it has to be backed up by the governor of the state. So
Well, you also, in order to
You can already say
run,
that.
you also have to have 50,000. I think it's 50,000 signatures from every state
Well, no, it
in order to
varies.
run in any state.
Some states were as low as 356. Some were much higher. It varied from state to state.
Well,
But
you still have to
yeah,
go to all 50 states and gather signatures.
you do. You have to go through all of them and get the signatures. There's a couple other things you got to get besides that. There's a couple other things you've got to meet besides that. But still, you can't win the Democratic Party without winning the delegates. So either she comes in as an independent, or I guess Kamala, if Biden stepped out, Kamala could pick her as her VP, and it could be an all-woman.
Woman ticket.
Yeah, I would leave the country if them two bitches won. I would. Canada looking better and better every day, man. I'm just saying. It's, even with trashy Trudeau, it's looking better than them two. Oh man, that's just a scary.
Well, what about Kennedy? Kennedy's going to probably
he's going to
divide the Democratic vote.
So right now he's looking like if the pollers were good the other day, he's looking like he's pulling 12 to 15% of all the Democratic votes going to him, and about 5 to 6% of the Republican votes going towards him. So he's actually pulling a little vote. Yeah, it's not enough to win, mind you, but it's enough to sure irritate the shit out of any. And I don't think any Democrat can win in this election. This is like when Ross Perot ran. You know, there was the wild card. The Republicans had that. It was easy for them to win. But he got in the race, and then of course those votes pulled away from the Republicans and went to him, and then the Democrats won the race. So in this race,
also the fact he flipped, he was in and out of the race so often.
Yeah,
he caused more confusion. He really basically handed that race to, and he took it away from Bob Dole, didn't he?
Yeah, gave it. He's the reason the Democrats won that election. Because that Republicans had it easy, but he blew it for them. That's what's going on here. Kennedy is like. You want to screw around with me? Well, watch this, boys. And there's nothing they can do. He's not scared of them. They can't bully him. He's a Kennedy to start off with. What are you going to do? Really? You can't even piss the Kennedys off because it makes you.
Well, yeah, we're going to do shoot me in the head in front of
Well, they might do. They might do.
They might. I mean,
but no,
they killed two of his relatives anyway.
I think this guy, and you know what? And this could be good for him next time around. If he does well and he pulls 20 or 30% of the vote, and whoever comes in does a shitty job, he might have a chance. Right now, it's looking like a Trump DeSantis ticket. I don't know if that's even a stoppable ticket at this point. DeSantis is well liked. Well, it gives him Florida automatically. That's like, it was like the election with, what was his name? Pretty boy who went crying after he lost. He grew a beard and stuff. Gore, yeah. Gore. So I never could understand why there was such a big deal about Florida. Jeb Bush was loved. Jeb had an 87% approval rating in Florida, and you really thought that Florida was going to vote for not for his brother. I couldn't even believe people thought that. I personally think that was way rigged because this has been a much bigger margin. And 3 years down the line, they found 105,000 ballots stuffed in boxes out on some pier in Miami Bay, all Republican ballots. So because it was no way. I mean, you're voting for the guy's brother. It's his first time around. The dude, they love him in Florida. I mean, they just loved him. There's no other way to say it. He's one of the highest rated governors of the state. And yet Florida was going to vote. I just had issues with that. And even after they finally proved the Republicans won, they still wouldn't give it up. And then they got mad because Bush wanted to do the same. I mean, Trump wanted to do the same thing. Somebody should actually shove that Florida shit in the Democrats' face every time they talk about Trump. Because really and truly, they said it was rigged. It was fixed. It was this. It was that. It was that. It was this. Well, Christopher Dade County is a big Democratic county, but the thing of it is those Democrats voted Republican for Jeb Bush, just like these Democrats voted for DeSantis. Yeah, hardcore. I mean, he pulled almost 50% of the Democratic vote in the state. Both of them did. So why would they go vote against, really, Al Gore? Who the hell he wanted Al Gore to run? He's a crybaby. No, I'm sorry. He was the global warming guy. Mm-hmm. Who had the biggest carbon footprint of anybody on the planet for almost a full decade. But yeah, global warming.
And he's a Rhodes Scholar. He doesn't know how to spell the plural of potatoes or tomatoes. Was it a fifth grader had to show him how to do it?
I don't know. No, that was what's his name?
That was Quayle. That was Vice President.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was Quayle. That was Queer Quail. He was that was another doofball, man. I
Yeah.
don't understand it. So we really do have brilliant people in this country. I mean, really brilliant people, and none of them ever get into politics.
You know why?
That's because they're brilliant.
Because they're smart. Get out of there. Get out of
Wait,
that
you
stuff.
know, they asked Jeff Bezos. He said, "I would lose money if I got into politics." He said, "I'd be going backwards, not forwards."
I think Trump. Is the
Although
one
if
guy
you
that
want to
makes money off of
join
this.
a high, although if you want to join a highly successful hedge fund, run for Congress.
Yeah.
You know, because they can even do insider trading. How sweet!
They have hedge funds that follow their trades and make investments.
I
They
bet you
literally
they
track
do.
Congress. Yeah.
Yeah, because Congress got insider trading, so and they tried to stop this 4 different times. I don't understand that. Okay, they put what's her name in there, Martha Cookie Girl, in jail for 6 months because she did insider trading from a tip she got from Congress, by the way.
Yeah, a congressman.
But but these guys do it on a daily basis, and but it's okay for us. Insider trading is insider trading, people. So and what we're
It's
talking about here,
illegal, no matter how you look at it.
yeah, it's like somebody's giving me a tip that Elon's got a new rocket coming out, or he's got this ship going to go to Mars, and it's all this new stuff. So, bam, you can get in and invest right off the bat. The stock jumps 2 days later, 100, 500, 1,000%. You just sell out. You done made a small fortune. It's just cheating for the rest of us because none of us get to do that. We got to do it the hard way. We got to take the long way around. So, no, I do. I call it gambling when you're doing Bitcoin, but. Bitcoin can be stable. Bitcoin, I just don't trust Bitcoin because I don't know if it's actually going to be here forever. Sometimes I think it is. Sometimes I think it's not. So I just do what I can do. And recently I made a good bit of money in it, but that's because it went up real fast for about a month. And
Yeah,
there's
but
a friend of
it's
mine,
not backed by anything. It's not federally insured. It's
not backed by anything.
There's a
And
lot
I
of
don't even think it's
scams. There's a
nationally
lot of
recognized.
scams
I mean, it
too.
is national.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and then a friend of mine showed me how you can make money in 3 and 5 minute nodes. And if you got a lot of money, you can make a lot of money. So they got places you can go, and you can follow it's not just the Bitcoin, any of the coins. You can follow them, and when you start to notice an upward trend, you think it's going to run. You can take a 5 minute bet. It's not even a bet. You can buy a 5 minute thing. So let's say you got $50,000 in, and it jumps up 65%, and you sell out on the 6th of the minute. See, to me, that should be illegal, but it's not because nobody knows anything about freaking Bitcoin. Because it's well, no, Chris. Technically, it's not real money. It's nothing. It's electronics. It's very hacked.
but it's backed by no kind of actual. You can't turn it in for any kind of goods or services.
Look at the poor guy who had what was it, $28 billion on his computer, and somebody hacked him and got it, and there's nothing you can do about it. There's not even a law to enforce on this. It's dangerous. Well, look at what that guy. What was his name? Sam. What's his face?
Bankman-Fried. Yeah.
How much money did he take people for? I mean, it was 138 million or something. It was 138 billion. It was some ridiculous amount of money, people. And he's going to go to jail, but I don't even think he's going to go to jail for a long time.
But Joe, it's effective altruism.
It is that. It's.
Remember that? Remember that crap? I like to invest in effective altruism. It's great. It's really gonna help society. And then he just takes everybody's money in the Bahamas.
Yeah, no.
Bermuda, wherever he was.
Look how much money Al Gore's made off of carbon chips. No, Frank. So far, I haven't seen him do anything with this. So you go to these companies, you have a guilty conscience, you give them $100,000 to offset carbon. As far as I know, 3 or 4 of these companies either went bankrupt or got in trouble for fraud because they don't. It's nothing. You're giving somebody money for the sake of giving them money. They're not really doing anything. They don't like have any big programs where. And let's be honest with you, I've talked to, like I said, I've got a bachelor's in science, and I've talked to several engineers lately. Yeah, and I've been talking about this for about 10 years. I don't understand why we don't make just carbon scrubbers, put one on the top of every building in this freaking country, along the ocean lines, put the big ones out there. Instead of windmills, put them bitches out there. So the estimated time with the ones they're talking about, it would take less than 5 years to remove the carbon from the planet. And if every country did it, it would take less than 18 months. 18 months. And what we're doing, we're worrying about global climate and how we're going to kill each other because we don't really care.
But Joe, who will eat the bugs? Who will eat the bugs?
That's all right. Who's eating? No, because they don't care, people. They don't give a shit. They don't care if you die from radiation. They got a big old temple on the ground somewhere. They don't give a shit about you. Or
Klaus
or
cares. Klaus
or
cares.
yeah, or you'll be one of the first ones to live on Mars with Elon. I mean, or maybe somewhere else for that matter. Hmm. Well, they just found out. They think I was going to say Betelgeuse. It's not Betelgeuse. It is Proxima Centauri B. They think may have life on it. They think it has oceans and stuff on it. Some kind of new chemical they found suggests that there may be life there. We're going to keep. Look, I'm telling you, I've been saying this for 3 decades. Life is the norm. It's not the ad norm. It's everywhere. And I guarantee in this solar system, we're going to find life in at least a dozen or more places.
Joe, this is how they're doing disclosure. They're going to start with something distant. They're going to say there's life there. Then there's going to be some other announcement, and then within a few years they'll say, well, there's actually life on Mars. The methane cycle demonstrates it. Here's some pictures that we may have stumbled upon in the last week. I mean, they've known it for.
Oh yeah, well
There's Venus too. I mean, there's at least 3 planets in this solar system that are or had life.
yeah,
Not to mention moons, right? You probably have something on Europa.
Yeah, Enceladus, Io.
Well, we've been talking about the desensitization program for about 4 decades now, and all it is, it's just a program they run. They've been running it because they need to get not us three, but the other us three that don't believe in anything or understand anything. They need to get them to know that something's coming. So it started out really simple. You go back about 300 years, you'll start seeing more and more sci-fi directed towards space. And then as things go along, you see more and more and more and more and more. And now sci-fi, especially space sci-fi, is big business in our country, and not just in our country, around the world now. And there's all sorts of aliens. So when we talk about aliens, it's just a thing in the back of our head now because you're just thinking it's a Marvel, DC movie or something. So, but the next phase will be more than likely an artifact somewhere. They can find a bug, but it would be better. And more than likely, what they'll do is they'll find a plant or a bug first, probably on Mars. And they'll say, look, we found this, proves that there's life in our solar system. Okay, that's good. But do you feel threatened? I don't feel threatened by some freaking bug on Mars. So I'm not really worried about it. So, a little time goes by, might be a decade, might be 100 years, who knows. And then bam, somebody somewhere is going to find an artifact. Old and ancient, raggedy old piece of crap, probably 1,000,000 years old. But it's going to prove that there was life other than us and in this solar system. So that gets people, they're gone now. Why worry about it? And then the next thing will be, guess what? Y'all want to see what's on TV tonight?
Full invasion.
Well, I hope they're not invading us. I hope one of them just stops by and says hi. And that's the other thing. Can you trust the government, especially now with AI, if aliens did show up to be aliens? I mean, with AI, you can do anything with AI, people. I'm amazed at some of the shit you can do. And now
that's also part of it. I mean, in one of the Star Trek movies, when they go to with Spock's brother to find the planet of God, Kirk asked the best question: how do you know it's God? How do you ID God? So alien
I want to see some ID,
comes from another planet. How do you ID them? You're from Alpha Centauri. How can we prove it? We don't have the means or technology to verify anyone who comes to this planet and says they're from another planet. We
can find out if they're from here or not. We can
genetically, but we can't verify. We can't go back to their planet and verify.
Well, yeah. See, we'd have that's the only way we could prove if they were someday is if we could go there, or if we could see there, one or the other. And then they got a new telescope coming out, and I think it's scheduled for 2040 or 2036.
Yes, I think 2036.
It gets deeper than James Webb, but it's different in the things it's looking for. It's designed to really look for
planets.
Yeah, and it's designed. Yeah, it's designed to look for not just life on planets, but signs of industrialism or things like that. Certain types of chemicals. Because just recently, James Webb found some chemicals out some planet about 50 light years out that suggest that there's some type of technology being used, like it's industrialized. And there's no way for them to prove it, and James Webb can't see clear enough to know for sure. But they've been talking about it for about 2 weeks now, and but it doesn't prove anything. And the chemical tests are inconclusive. They need something that looks directly for. So NASA's changed its parameters. Not just NASA, by the way. SETI's changing its parameters on how it's going to find life. About freaking time, SETI. I got so much SETI time. You don't even know how much SETI time I got. I'd have to go look at it right now. I mean, literally, it's probably hundreds of millions of hours by now. I've been running them since it came out.
Joe, they're still looking for radio waves.
Yeah,
Like,
they are.
Yeah.
Like
Uh,
any sufficiently, like any civilization slightly more advanced from us is either going to use the A potential, which is kind of a quantum communication thing, or maybe gravity waves, and we just proved that gravity waves existed like in 2015.
Yeah, well,
right?
or
So-
something that crossed through dimensions. We don't really. So radio waves is looking for technology like us, which all it means if we do find some. So it's 100 light years out. So it's a 200-year trip for that voice back and forth. We're even telling what they are, but then and nobody's getting there. I mean, we don't have any technology that can go 100 light years out, and not in 100 years. Even then, I mean, even if we go fast as light, it's still a 100-year trip.
Well,
stepping
here's the
stones
even
are the only
weirder-
thing for us.
The even weirder thing about SETI is they sent out that signal, the first signal. I don't remember what year it was, but very, very early, like 60s, early 70s. And the message was devised by Carl Sagan, and I don't know the guy's first name, but Drake, another scientist named Drake, who actually came up with the Drake equation, which it's the dumbest equation for is there life in the universe or not I've ever seen in my life. But they sent that message out through the Arecibo telescope, and then allegedly got a reply back in 71 or 73.
Is that the WOW signal?
The WOW signal, yeah, this is 73. Allegedly, they got the reply by that. But then they also, Sagan, I don't think Drake was as involved, but I know Carl Sagan was involved in putting the plaque on the Viking, the probe that
Voyager.
Left the universe. Voyager. Thank you. He put the plaque on there that has it's like a binary digital code of where the spaceship came from, our DNA track, what our basic human form looks like, what planet we're on, our basic math and numerical system, and several other things in binary code that only an advanced civilization who knows binary messaging would know what this plaque means. And then allegedly, what was it, 2014, sometime 2000 teens, there was a crop circle reply of that same plaque that it had a different picture of the radio that was sent the signal. It had a different picture of a dude. The DNA was different. The planets were different. The math system was the same, but it was a direct correlation. And it was next to a picture of an alien face with more binary code written in it. And
that's how you know it was one of us.
Direct answers. So, I mean, it had either been someone from our planet who did it or.
Well, and they translated some of it too. It basically, the message was like, there's life out there. Your leaders are lying to you. Like it was very direct.
It was something to the fact that there's good out there. There's people out there that are trying to deceive you. Something.
Yeah. Something like that.
Conduit terminates, and then it's a very strange cryptic message with the very strange cryptic bio plaque, I guess, is whatever you call that thing they sent that matches the Voyager plaque.
And then there are people who will tell you that the crop circles are hoaxes, but there's a way that I think the radiation emanates that the
it's easy. It's easy to prove a hoax and not so. On if they don't have expulsion cavities, it's a hoax. So you'll find a couple of things. One, the stalks aren't bent, but where the knots are on them is blown out. Yeah, so it's blown out.
They're blown out, but then it bends like directly below that burnout.
Yes, it comes over. Plus, there have been lots of this weird silicone stuff found in the areas. The other ones are easy to tell when you stomp them down. You're stomping them down, which
you're damaging the stalk.
The one Jay was talking about was proven to be a hoax, but the one with the big alien disc with the big alien, that was also a hoax. A bunch of stuff that was because I'm gonna tell y'all something. So what I think crop circles really are, because they really never showed up into the United States until modern times. The only place they really showed up for the last 2,000 years was the UK, and in specific areas. It looks more like
France and Spain.
It looks more like a sign saying, "Hey, Bob was here. We took care of this." And then they go from there. I don't think it was meant. I don't even think it was meant for us. I really think it was just away from them when they were going over to see if somebody had been in this particular area or did a particular thing. Even though they're telepathic, it just seemed to be what it was because it was so long, and no one's really. The only people have ever seen any being formed always said they seen these really white spinny things, not a big UFO, but something probably like an orb, say like yay big around,
Yeah.
just zinging around, and they've seen them on many occasions. And those you can see the ones that are hoax. So the reason you can tell a hoax is because they're stomped down, and
Yeah.
and sometimes you'll find pin marks where they were like putting the mark for the turn, on the star.
Mhm.
Stupid stuff. But so I mean, most of them are hoax, but there are some legit ones. And then of course there are two guys that says it's the chaos theory that causes wormholes. I mean wormholes that causes it causes them when they spin. They also always the same way. It's the chaoticness of the force making her spin.
Oh,
That's
the
what,
Coriolis force.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I was
It
like,
could all, and I thought that it could be some strange, electromagnetic phenomenon, some sort of byproduct of our magnetic atmosphere that sometimes that it just these, and I thought maybe it was, the catalyst was maybe a plasma ball or something, just would go into these crop circles or into these crops, and just as it spins through it, do that damage and just make random, you know, uh, like
we
snowflake kind of designs. Like no one design is ever the same.
we worked with the top four crop circle people in the world, and then it was kind of strange because we were getting these. So the crop circles, so that you can go back to I think it's 2,500 years ago. So they've got measurements of these crop circles, and they've got measurements all the way up until modern times. They were always the same measurement. Width and length were always the same. It was a circle. It was the circle itself was the same in all of them for 2,500 years. It wasn't until this got on television that the crop circles actually started changing. So I don't think it had anything to do with ET. I think almost anything you find that's not the traditional crop circle is probably a hoax. And I had the three top best hoaxes in the world come on our show and talk about the ones they did. They did some really good ones, and they videotaped them. So there's no you can't say they didn't do them. They videotaped them. They did some really real. I was impressed. The boys had skill. I don't know how you image that
out there.
yeah, I don't know how you image that, but all the big crop circle people will tell you if it's a really involved one, it's not an alien, it's or whatever creates them. It's not that, it's something else. It's they tend to be very strict on what they think is crop circles and what they think is not, and that's the first thing they look for is the expulsion cavities. But there's a few other things they look for. So in the grain and kernels, about every 6 or 7 will have where it was about to pop or it pops. So you can't really do that when you're faking them. I guess unless you go out there with a blowtorch, but it's not going to work right. So this is just it's something that's only happens in the crop circles. And,
Another thing about some of the legit circles is that the people that have been in the area just prior to them showing up swear that they weren't there moments ago, and that they
oh
have been
yeah,
within
and I've
minutes.
heard
Yeah.
that. I've heard that too. Well, I can tell you right now, if Jimmy Reese is listening, he's cursing me, telling he's going to probably consider some of what I said. Crop circle is his secrets, man. He'll be calling me tomorrow. You SOB, you can't be telling him shit like that. But you know what? Crop circles have kind of gone the way of the dodo bird.
Yeah, they're not.
They were a fad.
They're rarely talked about.
Another
anymore.
thing that proves that most of them were man-made because it was a fad, and I don't think aliens do fads, like at least not in the way we think of it.
No, I mean there. I guarantee you there are some marks on this planet that are done by other intelligences to direct future visitors to when you go to California and you want to look at certain things, you don't just go, where is it? You follow a map or you see certain signs, this way to the giant ball of twine, So there's got to be place markers on this planet from our alien visitors. And I think some of that you'll see in Nazca. Some of those lines may not exactly direct anyone to another architectural feature, but they guarantee they point to something that's of interest to those people. It may not be of interest to us. Might not be a place marker that we would follow, but I guarantee you there are place markers on this planet for people.
The thing I find most interesting about the Nazca lines is you can see them from space. It's
yes,
it's not that's the problem with the whole thing with the Nazca lines. These things were done in a way.
There are three things that can be seen from space, and that is Nazca lines, the Great Wall of China, and the area of the three pyramids. You can't really necessarily see the lion statue, the Sphinx, and you can vaguely make out the shape of the three large pyramids. But after a certain height, they just disappear into the background.
What are you talking about, Ron? Oh, what pyramid? Oh, the ones on Mars. Well, we don't know if they're pyramids or not. We haven't got there
They're
yet.
vaguely pyramid shaped. One's a pentagon shaped. So I mean,
Yeah.
we have never seen a pentagon.
Well, they're
shaped
five
pyramid
to
yet.
start off with, Jackie. They're 5-sided pyramids. They're not 4-sided pyramids.
Yes.
They're 5-sided. The problem with those are
our pyramids aren't 4-sided either. They're 8-sided.
they
The ones
the
in
way
Egypt are 8-sided.
So I don't know what these are. It looks very man-made or something created. It's that whole area looks very. When you look at it, if a pyramid's aside, when you look at that from above, it looks like any set of ruins in any place I've seen in overseas. It just looks just like them, walls sticking out, roads, things cut through. You don't even have to look at the pyramids. You can just put them aside and don't even worry about those. There is definitely some type of something was built there at one time or another. And
one could say that things are too randomly placed there to be randomly placed there.
Well, it just looks like it actually, I hate to say it, the way it looked like some type of human construction. I mean, it's too close to stuff you see like in the Middle East right now that they're digging up. I mean, they just look too similar. Now, South American architecture is different, guys. Yeah, it's not the same. It's the way they lay stuff out in South America is different than the way they laid stuff out in the Middle East. Yeah, well, that's where they find the most ruins in those two areas. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The pyramids in the South and Central America are extremely ornate, whereas the ones in Egypt there's nothing. I mean, aside from the best called graffiti inside the Cheops that says something about Khufu's pyramid, there's no writing in any of those pyramids. There's none whatsoever. No hieroglyphs, no paper, no nothing. No, and there's no actual hieroglyphic papers or stones that even talk about building the pyramids. There are some pyramid texts which talk about creating the cover stones for the pyramid. What are they covering?
Well,
we don't know what's underneath those stones.
My problem is I don't even know how they built the damn thing. I don't know how anybody was breathing once they got in a level. They weren't breathing with no torches. Damn torches would have sucked all the oxygen out there.
Yeah, there's no torch, no soot inside those walls. But the Egyptians could not have cut the stone that's underneath the limestone. Underneath the cover stones is red granite from 60, 70 miles away at Aswan, and they didn't have the tools to cut that hard of a stone. They could easily cut the limestone into nice blocks and cover up what was there, but they didn't build what was there or what's under there.
Maybe they knew how to use water. There are some signs that some of the ancient world understood how to use water pressure to cut stuff.
I don't think you can get water to a tight enough jet beam to make a laser cut on that part of the stone.
Well, we can. I don't know if they can, but we can. We can easily do it. As far as I know, there's nothing on this planet that water can't cut when it's done right. It cuts through steel like it's butter. Just you can watch it.
And it took how many thousands of years for it to cut the Grand Canyon. It is one of the best acids on the planet, but I don't think that's the answer. This is
sheer pressure. They when they use water to cut, it's just sheer pressure. It's like if you're using. It's like when you're using your pressure washer, 3100 pressure washer. It blows out all the mortar.
But it's not something. It's not a tool you would use in a building situation. Cliff Dunn is right about one thing: is when they were building these pyramids, they would get to a point where they needed a rock of specific dimensions. They had to tell the limestone workers or the granite stone workers, we need this, X by Y by Z, stat, and then maybe not that day, but the following day or the day after, that stone was cut to those parameters and then slid into place. You can't do that if you have a machine that uses that much water to cut. I don't know how long would it take for them to cut a stone that's 16,000 tons into a square.
Well,
a day, a week, a month, a year.
No, if it was a real pressured machine, all of about 15 minutes. It's but that's the problem. We're talking what we use with big pressure tanks and stuff.
Yeah, the machine is too big to use on a building site.
No, you could use it on a building site, but you wouldn't want to because of the water. You would want it to be away. One, you want it close to a water source, and two, you don't want all that water on a sandy job site because it's going to turn into slush and mud.
That's exactly my point. You want that machine at the quarry getting the bulk piece out that's close to the size you want. Then you get it to the job site, and you're like, all right, we need it shaped to this size. and then that stone is reshaped there on the job site to fit that parameter, and then the next stone, and then the next stone, and the next stone, and they just you have to do it that way, because when you're building something, first of all, you need to have a nice blueprint, especially for a building of that scientific nature, of that precision nature. You must have a blueprint. There are no blueprints. Where are the blueprints? Find them. Nobody's got them.
Yeah, because they
They've never
killed
been
them and
found.
burned them bitches, man. They killed the people who knew about
They
it and
burnt the
burned them.
stone. No, if
They
the
killed
Egyptians
everybody,
made
man.
if the Egyptians made these pyramids, the blueprints for this are not on papyrus. They're on some clay tablet baked somewhere and then
No,
solidified.
I'm telling you, the whatever it is, whoever would have been the priest would have killed anybody involved with it and destroyed any mentions of it. Why do you think? Think about this in the beginning. So Khufu starts building pyramids, right? He builds this one. It's kind of he's the guy who built the bent pyramid. So you can see the progression of building pyramids. He
the
built
ziggurat at
pyramids.
Ur that goes
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah. So he built 4 pyramids, with the last one being a true pyramid, not a big pyramid, still a true pyramid. But you can see the progression of how he learned to do it. So we
Good,
know
better,
the
best,
Egyptians. Yeah, we know the Egyptians did this technology themselves. Now, whether they were getting some guidance from somewhere, I don't know. I wasn't there. But they actually, because of those 4 pyramids, you can see how the Egyptians learned how to do this through these technologies. And of course, like any technology, as things go along, your tools get better, the way people do things get better, and so on and so forth. And as long as they want that building curve, but you can't find blueprints for any pyramid.
No, you can't find blueprints for any of them. You can't find any like pyramid texts that talk about building materials. The only building materials that are talked about are in the pyramid text, and they talk about the limestone cover stones only. They don't talk about the granite.
And you know what? It would have been anybody but important people in them. You would have probably got blueprints, but since it was,
but you're not seeing any ledgers for what the slaves were given, because they had to have, even though they weren't paying any slave work that was going on there.
Well, okay. Well, first let's stop for a minute.
If slaves were being used, they would have had a ledger of how much food was being consumed.
It ain't even
they would
that.
have a ledger of how much money was being paid to specific workers that are cutting the stones and moving the stones. None of that exists.
Yeah, because the majority of people who worked in the pyramids were not actually slaves; they were actually employees.
Yeah,
it took a long time. So this killed, and actually there is ledgers. I'll tell you. So what happened is the Cairo Museum got into it with the London Museum, because the London Museum was saying it was all slaves, and they're like, no. Most of these people were paid employees. So Cairo's got ledgers. They pulled them out and said, no, look, see, this is where they were paying their employees to do this. They even got how much bread was being consumed a day, how much other stuff was being consumed a day. There even was some kind of liquor. I guess it was liquor. I don't
Probably
don't
beer.
know. It was, I think it was a meat of some kind.
Beer is both medicine and food.
And
they was antibiotic in nature, so.
But none of those ledgers were from the Great Pyramids, by the way. As far as I know, they were from the smaller pyramids.
They don't have any. They have them for some of those 4 smaller ones. But one of the things that, I mean, you're right about the progression of them building those 4 or 5 or 6 pyramids and getting better and better as they go. But were those built in congruence with the pyramids of Giza? I think they were built after those pyramids were built. And I think that, no matter how many times you build a pyramid, it's not going to teach you how to get lucky to precisely align the next building so you're only 0.025 off of true north, south, east, and west on all 4 sides of the building. That's impossible. It is such a happy mistake to have built a building so close to being, and like I said, the buildings are 8-sided, so the faces of the pyramids, they bend in like this, and that line going down the middle of each facade faces north, east, south, west, and the corners face the northwest, southwest, southeast, and what have you. You can't align a building.
It was a little different back then.
The Egyptians did not have the compass.
Think about this, Jake. Think about how great our construction today would be, is if you fucked up, you got your head chopped off. It'd give you much more incentive to be perfect, man. I'm just saying. It would give you much more incentive.
Within a half a foot of true square instead of a foot of true square.
We've built some good stuff, and it's weird because when you talk about the pyramids, like everybody always wants to compare the Mesoamerican pyramids, but it's a whole different type of building.
Different type of construction.
Yeah, they didn't stack blocks. Yeah, they actually did it different. They built outer walls and then filled the inner walls and went up from there. So the inner walls are actually the Mayan temples and all that are actually debris rock up in there. It's a whole different style of building. and it was actually probably a faster way of building.
And you'll notice that the buildings are much more ornately decorated. You know, they got
Yeah,
snakes and motifs and things going down the sides and tops of them.
yeah, they were very they were so
They were
those
actual
pyramids were being
functional buildings
used.
that people
Yeah.
were going in and out of. You know, the pyramids seem to have been some sort of chemical plants that made some sort of, you know, chemical stew.
Yeah, they it was just a different no, John, it was just a different way of building. Kublai Kai was his name. What, that wasn't the sun god, I believe that's who it was, the sun god. The Mayans, Aztecs, Inks, and well, first off, they're probably all just descendants of the Toltecs, and you can kind of go with this because the greatest thing the Toltecs ever did was to create the Chihuahua, and so they the ones that took that dog and turned that dog into something, and then the dog got lost and disappeared for I don't know 100, 200, 300, 500 years or so, and I think it was the Mayans that found it.
No,
Whichever
Joe Montaldo.
No, whichever one the Cortez, whoever Cortez decided to kill, that's who found it, like 600 or 700 years later, and put it back to being a regular household and a mouse catcher and a live in my house dog. And then, of course, when they were wiped out by Cortez, the dog disappeared yet again. And then in 1880, it was found in Chihuahua, Mexico, and brought to England. And since then, it's been way up there in the breed for a long time. They're demons, man. If them dogs were big, they would be dangerous. Yes, no. If they were big, my Chihuahua was
I
gonna shit.
disagree. I think if they were big, like a Great Dane, they'd have the Great Dane mentality. I think most of the small animals tend to be a little bit more aggressive and angry and bark more. And I think it's just a self defense mechanism. So that I mean, have you ever seen a Great Dane and a Chihuahua actually meet, and then neither has either seen that breed before? The Great Danes are terrified of these things. I mean, it's this little fucking next part of my French, this little ball of naked, you know, Mexican fluff. The face on the Great Dane that saw this dog when I saw this happen, it was just pure terror, absolute terror. The dog was so scared of this little Chihuahua.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, Chihuahuas are demons. I used to watch them. My lady had 5 of them in her house, and the guy next door had a Siberian Husky, mean old Husky too. Every time he'd get out, he'd try to eat one. So what would happen is all 5 would attack him. They'd get underneath and start chomping on, vital parts. Eventually, he learned to leave him alone. Yeah, they just because man, one would grab one would grab the other, one would grab underneath. That poor dog didn't know what to do. If he could have got hold of one of them, he'd have killed him. You can bet your ass on that. But it just wasn't working out for him. No, my other two, my 2 males were stupid. Max, who was 5 pounds, he saw a Rottweiler one day. He walked out there like, "This is my yard. Get the bleep out of my yard." Put his big old chest out there, which was all about this big, and just went after the Rottweiler. He was about halfway to the dog when I reached out and just grabbed him mid-flight, pulled him back, and Rottweiler's looking at him like, "Dude, you could have been lunch. You know that, right?"
Yeah, he was lunch. He'd been an appetizer.
He said, just walked off, like, you stupid dog. No,
like
Chris.
a
So
cocktail weenie.
I know we've been off on tantrums, but no, the Ukrainian war. So let's talk about Uncle Putin for a while. So
Oh no,
you
Uncle
know
Petey.
he's first off he's been threatening everybody. So he's starting to sound like Kim Jong Un.
Well, he said he's going
rhetoric.
to nuke London,
Berlin,
Kiev,
and Kiev
Berlin.
and
Yeah, Berlin was the
Berlin,
other
yeah.
one, yeah.
So I just I'm thinking, dude, you must be smoking something up there that they're not sharing with the rest of the planet. Because I mean, come on.
He must be getting the good stuff because we ain't getting it over here.
Obviously, that Siberian blue has got to be something good because his brain is out there.
Oh my god!
What do you mean, Chris? No, he's on. Well, hearsay he's been going through chemo.
Well, that and he's got the Alzheimer's kind of thing, so he's probably got medicine for that too.
Because they said all this, and then he denied it, and then something leaked. He went to Cuba for his cancer treatment, and it got leaked. And well, yeah, they say Cuba's got one of the best cancer places on the freaking planet. Can you believe that? All the dictators go there. Yeah, the guy from
All of
Dennis
Hollywood's
went
been
there.
going there for years. They've been going to some guy over there. In Cuba.
I mean, they can't even get a car newer than a '55 Chevy, but yet they got the best cancer. I don't know what to tell you.
Hey, Joe, though those '57 Chevys, they got their look brand new and pristine. They take good care of them.
I know they do. And my brother wanted to go down there. My brother and my partner wanted to go down there when Obama got it opened up. He wanted to go down there and just buy as many as we could and bring them home, but they were like, no. So the guy in Cuba said, I won't sell it to you, but I'll trade you for something newer. I'm thinking, shit, I'll give you my Camry, dude.
Yeah.
I take it. You know, the Camry, man. Come on. I'll give you a Kia, man. I give you the other. Mm, I don't like American cars. Unless they're muscle cars, I don't like American cars. They
Well,
suck.
a 57 Buick probably got about 28, 30 gallons to the mile, 30 miles to the gallon.
The
Those
only matter
cars
of
were
fact,
actually efficient.
yeah, the only I like my F-150s. Yeah, I like them. But other than that, no, I'm not a big American car fan. Because you want to know the real reason why? Okay, I'll put it out bluntly. You can take a Malibu and you might get good 200,000 miles out of it. The Camry I got will go 400,000 to 500,000 miles without any major maintenance other than oil change, a little work here and there. That's it. The American car
Yeah.
is not going to get nowhere near it. My Ford truck, which was babied from the day I bought it, made it 250,000 miles and said, that just American cars are just not designed because it's that shit. We can't have it going too far because you won't buy a new one.
Mhm.
Yeah. And they want it to eat a lot of gas, like be inefficient gas bus, so you buy more gas.
Plus,
It's
Toyota
a
and
huge
them do
scale.
stuff like stuff that you have to pay extra for an American car. Toyota gives you. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
premium sound, premium wheels. That comes with the car. In
I've got a
America, you got to pay extra for that.
2021 Camry, and it's like a mid-grade level, a LE class, and it's like, I mean, it's like a Cadillac inside. It's nice inside. I mean, I've got cruise control. I've got it doesn't drive by itself, but it kind of sort of does. It has this thing that it senses the lines on the side of the road, and if you let go of the steering wheel, it'll center itself in the lane, and then after a while it'll say, "Put your hands on the wheel." But it almost kind of sort of practically drives by itself. When I'm driving with it, I don't have to I just keep my hand on the wheel so that it must have a sensor that senses that you're holding the wheel, and it'll guide itself through light curves while it's driving. I don't have to turn the wheel at all. It's amazing.
You know what fools it is when the road splits,
or
there's no
line.
line. Yeah, there's
If
broken
the line goes
It
away, that
it
kinda
gets
scares
confused
it,
with that. Yeah. Now, when my mom was passing, I was driving her Cadillac back and forth from Atlanta. It was full drive, so it was really nice because I'd lock it in the cruise control at about 85, so I would tuck in between two of the super rigs, and I'd put it on automate, following the car in front of us. So we'd do whatever the vehicle in front of us doing, it would do. So I just let it drive and hope nobody got off the interstate if I fell asleep or some shit. But well, it starts beeping if you're getting off, but still, it was a great feature. It was really nice, and some of the new ones are even better. But we don't have True Drive yet. And no, what do you mean? We just told you Russia got 5,888 nukes. Yes, they got more. They got more nukes than anybody else. I think the United States is second. France, if somebody, is third. No. China's third with 500. I think France has got like 290. Britain's got like 200. India's got like 194. Pakistan, I think Pakistan's got like 180, and I mean Pakistan's got like 190, and India's got like 186 or something.
You're pretty close.
Israel has 90. Yes, Israel. Do you want to talk about blood to the cradle? That's Israel's got 90 in the Middle East. That should just scare everybody. And they're
Yeah, and people that area should think about this. How many times has Israel been attacked? Well, for no good reason, really, and recently, and they haven't launched any of those 90 nukes. Think about that.
Well, they're the only ones that have
They
nukes
came
in the Middle
close.
East. Yeah.
They came close
I'm
in
sure they wanted to. I'm
1973.
sure they wanted to. Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah, that's what that. No, John, that's what the stupid movie Broken Arrow was made out of. We almost lost some nukes. And it wasn't quite that scenario, but we almost lost. At least on 2 occasions, the U.S. came close to losing nukes.
I think there's at least 3 occasions where they lost at least a couple of them. They don't know where they went to, what happened to them.
And then, Russia did. Russia lost They lost 3 suitcase nukes for sure that we know of, and 2 tactical yield nukes of 5 kilotons each. That's the ones that's what they fessed up to. We don't know what else they lost, but that's what they felt. And Russia also said that before it got all of its nukes back from its satellites, like the Ukraine and some of the other ones that had nukes, some of those may have gone missing.
Have been sold. Some were sold off allegedly.
But since no one's dropped a nuke on anybody anywhere, I'm kind of wondering if any of it was true or not, because that's 2 decades now. No one's used any of them. I find that hard to believe that somebody in the Middle East would have got a nuke.
Once you do that, the spotlight is on you. So you got to pick and choose your one target. Once you light that nuke off,
now
when they find out it's you, the spotlight is on you, and the whole world's coming after you. So you got to You got to be smart about it.
Well, Jack. So, Jack, you think they're just getting them and they're bringing them to the United States and they're been hiding them in the U.S. Until they're ready to blow them all up at one time? Well, you could be right, but first off, you
You
can't
gotta
just
get
bring
through
a
the
nuke.
border though.
Yeah,
Right.
you let me tell you what. It's not even just crossing through a border spot because they're going to catch you there instantly when they're scanning. But we
Yeah.
scan our borders all the time from space. You ain't just crossing with a nuke. So yeah, you can bury it in a bunch of concrete or maybe in some lead cases or something. Sooner or later, you have to take that nuke out that case, and when you do, it's going to freaking trigger alarms all over the place. Our country it was deliberate. This was done deliberately a long time ago because it's not just nukes the U.S. has to worry about. We ship a lot of nuclear waste across our country, and not
Yeah.
just military nuclear waste. A lot of this shit comes from hospitals. So any of this can be turned into a dirty bomb. So the United States is very strict on how nukes are moved around, how anything's moved around, and we're constantly scanning. Matter of fact, there's a map, you can probably still find it online, that shows where the places that the United States already knows there's nuclear stuff there, like hospitals, way stations, Yucca Mountain, Wicca facility. I learned a lot because a good friend of mine worked at the Wicca facility for a while, and I learned a lot about how the government moves stuff around. It was kind of spooky, actually. There's no big trains. There's no big loads of people following. There's no military escort. Nope. It's usually in some truck, like an ice cream truck or something. It's just
Yep.
cruising along down the highway. It just scares the
Yeah, you
But
bejesus
don't-
out of the people.
it will go by locations and cities that have large radio nuclear medicine facilities to help mask its signature on its way to where it's going.
It'll be hard. I mean, but like I said, somewhere along the line, you'll have to take, if you're going to use it,
Yeah.
you're going to have to take it out the case. And once
Even
you
if
do,
you don't have to take it out of the case, once you arm it and turn it on and it becomes nuclear active, it's
well,
gonna
that's what I'm
come
saying.
through
To do that,
concrete. Yeah.
when you do that, you have to take it out the case. You got to open a case to arm it. So that's the problem. Anything that can keep it shielded where we can't see it, no remote's going to go through it. So somewhere you've got to open it. And as soon as that bitch opens up, one of them satellites going to go beep, 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 beep. And then DH is going to go on top of your ass. They've actually caught, see, they don't talk about this much, but they've actually caught people in the United States with nuclear materials, not like plutonium or stuff like that, but usually waste materials. So they caught two guys who were working on making a waste bomb. This was in 81, I think it was, from radioactive water left behind by, or maybe it was 83. It was from 3 Mile Island. They were working there.
Yeah.
They used to work there.
Deuterium.
Yeah. And they actually got, I think it was 250 gallons of this contaminated water and highly radioactive.
I think
They were just going to explode in the city.
they either call it heavy water or deuterium.
Yeah, they were going to.
and
They
yeah,
were
it was-
just going to. They were just going to explode it in the city and say, "Okay." Well, people, you got to remember, not everybody likes America. I mean, we like ourselves, and
there
Sean
are
and I, and
Americans who
Jay
don't like
likes us.
America, actually.
But I mean, well, most of Europeans like Americans. They like to bitch about Americans, but they like about Americans. Yeah, you always see us in their movies. Oh yeah, actually, I didn't realize this, and we used to install satellites way back when, big satellite dishes in people's yards, which is still the best way to get TV, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. You get like 10,000 channels, and it's almost impossible for people like HBO and them to block you out because they got these little scramble boxes that just blow right through their shit like it's nothing. So I mean, you get to see like French television, German television. No, there's no translation. You can buy a translator box if you want, but that's going to either you can do one that is voiced or text, but there's so much shit to see because you're getting in everybody's stuff. It's not just American stuff, and it shows you the different time zones around the world. It was fabulous. A friend of mine, Gary, owned a company doing it. Every now and then I get lost at work just flipping through, looking at shit. Oh, and if you're a child, the French commercials, here in America, all they're going to show is the bra. No, it's not how it is in France. they just walking around on television. The first time I seen it, I said, "Am I watching porn?" Gary's like, "No, it's French commercial." Well, get the fuck out of here. It's not a commercial. He said, "Yeah, watch it to the end." I watched it. It was a French commercial. No, it wasn't even a bra commercial. It was something about food. I think it was like a spaghetti commercial or something.
Nothing
was
sells
stupid.
food like nudity, man. I mean,
It was stupid. I'm just saying it was stupid. Do I think? So wait. So what you're asking? You're asking the three of us this. So you're asking. So do I think, or we think Kim Jong Un or Putin is just talking rhetoric, or do you really think something's going to happen?
for Putin, if it's going to happen, he's going to have to do it before the elections because he will not act if Trump wins. Kim Jong-un, same thing. He's just a coward. If we get Trump back, both of those two are going to quiet down. The Israel thing might flare up.
Israel's
Yeah,
not going to shut up for nothing. Good.
I think part of the calculation of Putin is, I mean, not entirely, but there's got to be some level of deterrence, right? There also has to be, you know, I think he's kind of playing partially to the U.S. election, right? He's making Biden look like a weakling, scaring people, and then, you know.
Yeah,
Putin,
I wouldn't be surprised if he's in cahoots with Trump to do this, so that Trump looks like the stronger guy. And we've already seen that the Democratic Party has already paid for his campaign advertising. It's a done deal.
Yeah,
pretty much all three elections.
He's in the news every day for some BS stuff that's going on in New York and Florida. So I mean, it's just amazing.
I don't know why they thought this targeting thing was the best strategy, where they just sue them.
They're trying a noose around their own candidate's throat.
Yeah.
Well, because they thought, well, you would have thought after the Russia Hillary thing, they would have learned their lesson, because that's why he won. He wouldn't. If they would have not done the hoax and Hillary would have not done what she did, she would have won that election and been the first woman president. She probably would have barely won it, but she would have won it. But all the other shit, most of us already thought Hillary was ungodly corrupt to start off with. And all this was prove the point. First off, nobody really thought Trump had Russia ties. He was an American businessman and actor. He wasn't a big fan of Russia. He'd only ever been over there twice. Odds are he hasn't really had, because, they could find out. And that's something else the Democrats didn't want to talk about. They always said, he was there. Yeah, twice.
So what, twice?
And he didn't have any Russian friends here in the United States. They couldn't find any contacts here in the United States he was talking to that had ties to Russia. So it was just bullshit. And then the more the special counsels got into it, the more we learned. And then every weekday, I'm Chuck Schumer, and we've got the evidence now. He's going to prison, man. We've got him. Trump should get $1 billion for every time he said that.
You don't.
It's such bullshit. I don't understand. I don't understand why America's as stupid as this is. I mean, we're the most inventive country on the freaking planet, and yet it's like we live with a bunch of 8-year-olds. And I know my grandpa used to say this about us when I was a kid, but
being run by a bunch of preteen, hormonal teenagers. It's childish. And then how long ago was it when the government worked together? Did this like the 70s, I guess, mid-70s?
No, you had
80s.
Ronald Reagan. You had Ronald
80s,
Reagan and
O'Neill.
Bill Clinton. Yeah, Ronald Reagan and Bill Clinton. They got along good. They were both bipartisan presidents. They both got shit done. Reagan brought the military back up to the strongest it's ever been, and Bill paid it off. I mean, you can't ask for better bipartisan than that. And they both had the backing of the Congress, both of them, and neither one of them had owned the Congress themselves. They were using other Congress, so they did it, and they showed you could be bipartisan. But that's the reason Obama had so much trouble. So if you look at Reagan, could cheat because he was an actor.
Yeah.
So he had,
he knew where to stand, how to point his face.
In all fairness, he was also governor of California for 8 years. He had a little practice.
He had a lot of practice.
In the same
state.
He was well spoken, and he knew how to be slick and sly and just kind of slide on people. I watched him eat the media like for children a million times. They thought they had him. He'd just slide right out. It was like that stupid movie with the Texas backstep.
He was still in the
he was and then but Clinton was the same. Clinton had been a governor for 8 years, and not the biggest state in the union by any means, but he had been in and out of Whitewater and shit. He's already been through his conspiracies, got out of from screwing 4 women, and I mean he was in, and he got in, and I still don't get this sex thing. Okay, I don't get it. Women are attracted to powerful men, and sometimes powerful men are just stupid. It doesn't mean they're going to wreck the country, because Bill didn't wreck the country. He did a damn good job with the country. So I mean,
he did fairly good.
So I'm kind of thinking maybe we misjudging people here on the wrong things. No, we're not talking about perverts.
But it's either got to be in the water or in the genes. I mean, look at Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods had this gorgeous wife, absolutely gorgeous wife.
Yeah.
And then he steps out on her with 29 or 30 other ladies. I mean, he basically had a lady at every tournament he went to.
Because he believed his own press. And that's what happens to most people. They believe their own press. And he paid for it, just like Jeff
he's
Bezos
still paying for it.
Look at Jeff Bezos. Okay?
Yeah.
He knew he had $150 billion at stake, and he still did it. And guys and girls, if you're young, don't listen to this. But there ain't no piece of what worth $150 billion. I'm just putting it out there,
That's
man.
right.
I'm sorry.
That's right.
Plus, he didn't even know the chick at the time. I'm kind of like,
Well,
no,
they've
no,
done like
no.
biological studies on males in different species, and what happens is when, particularly with primates, when status increases, the behavior of the male changes, and they do some of this irrational stuff. Right?
Yeah, I
They
was going to say
become like the dominant ape.
the
Right?
mentality, the rationing goes down. You don't.
Yeah, it's biological. It's almost
Yeah.
purely biological, right? You can't
Yeah, it pretty is. Yeah.
yeah, you basically have to have, one of those little pages sitting next to you. Remember, thou art mortal, right? The Roman, generals had, right, or the
Well,
Caesars
Yeah.
had.
when I was
Remember?
young,
Oh, blow it out your ass. That's
when I
what I'm
was
talking
young,
about.
I couldn't handle having a lot of money. I used to get in trouble all the time. Anytime we'd make like really big money, and back and then big money ain't the same as what it is today. But one night, I was just loaded one night. I had my stepson with me, and I'm sitting in a club, and I whip out about 10 grand in cash, and I'm just sitting there with my boots kicked up on the chair next to me, fanning myself, and just turn around, put 100 in the bar behind me. I said, "Look, all these people in this bar are my friends. Don't let it." I said, "If none of their glasses hit dry tonight, that's your 100 taken home with you." And she was just like, because I think it was like drinking with Lincoln or something that night. So we weren't actually paying for the drinks; we just paid to get in the bar. And even though I don't drink that kind of shit, but still, it was it just it gets its ego, man. You can't let it get hold to you. See, now I'm luckier. Because once I met my wife, it was different, and once I met in some of my other friends, it's different because, when I opened up iCar, I needed to make sure that the people around me, because of the kind of research we were doing, weren't going to let me go off on a tangent somewhere. I needed them not to be scared to say, "Hey, Joe, I think you lost your bleeping mind, man. You need to go back and check this." And the same thing is, the more famous we were getting, the more we needed to keep in check on what we were moving, because it's easy to get caught up in the bullshit. In the fan stuff. And one of my good friends kept saying, "You should just open a cult. You should start a cult." I'm like, "Why?" He said,
We're
"Yeah."
already in one. Why do we need another one?
He's like, "So I mean, but it's so, and I'm not even, I'm barely famous. They got people out there. I don't even know how they deal with it. Sometimes the ego rush has got to be something else. But like I said, I was lucky. I had people that would say, "What are you, stupid?" And they weren't scared to tell me something. And matter of fact, I was talking with a friend of mine at some conference, and he said something to me. This woman walked by. "You should never talk to him like that. What is wrong with you?" I mean, she tore my buddy a new ass, and he's like, just like, "You shouldn't talk to me like that. See what happens when you talk to me like that." And that's what happened. It's easy to fall into that stuff. And then it gets weird because we were in an elevator one day, and these two girls were giggling the whole time. And later on, my wife said they wanted to talk to you, but they were scared. Like, because I go to places like that so people can talk to me. That's why I'm there. I said, "Look, I come here for y'all. I could stay at home and do whatever I want. There's nothing to be blunt. I haven't been to a conference in a decade where I've learned anything really new. I've been doing this a long time, and I'm connected with so many people in different fields. It's easy for me to stay ahead of the crowd. So so the only time I go really is to meet the people. There ain't no really other reason for me to go. Jimmy, no, we're just talking about traveling. Yes. Everybody over there is weird, and y'all smoke crack. What do we got going over here? I seen a couple of y'all hit the chat earlier. Yeah, I seen it. Y'all done disappeared again, though, you bunch of wimps. Y'all are scared of Sean. I know what it is because he drove a tank. What do you think? He's going to just whip the tank out of his backyard and go blow your asses up? No, he drove the good.
Out here. There used to be a guy out here, Jacques Littlefield. He had a tank farm. I mean, he had like Russian tanks. He had like T-34s. He had Sheridans. He had all sorts of tanks. And then he died. And his wife did not like those tanks.
I bet she did.
Yeah, sent them to the Four Winds. So I think they're part of the various museums. But those things are expensive to maintain, like extremely.
Oh, yeah, they are. Yeah, if you're going to keep them up, especially you're going to keep them in running order, man. Some of them tanks are ancient. What do you mean? So no. Okay, first off, Christopher. So you want to talk about it really? So what's going to happen is if Russia does something stupid, you have to remember now NATO has 9 countries along.
I mean, if they do something
border.
else stupid, right?
Yes. Well, something that so there's 9, but Russia shares the border with 9 NATO countries. Do you know what that means? And each one of these countries have their own different kind of tanks. we're not just all using American tanks over there. We're using German tanks. We're using tanks from like 6 different countries. That's the thing
Mhm.
about being in the NATO. So it's Russia's got 2 tanks right now, and one's only good. Obviously, the other one's a piece of shit. So I mean, every time I hear about one, it's losing its top. So I'm not even worried about them. Now we know how to kill those tanks, and they're not even going to put them in around us. Oh no, man, we won't even use the warthogs for those. There's no need to. I mean, they're taking them, popping them off with little Lars looking things. Yeah, I mean, they. Well, no, Lars. Well, they don't call them Lars anymore. They got Stingers and something else now. But
Stingers and the Phoenix. I think
yeah,
it's a Javelin is another one.
yeah, and
Oh
they
yeah,
got
Javelin's anti-tank top-down attack.
It's
And then
it's an
the
SLW.
Laws,
It's a
light
shorter launch
infantry tank.
weapon. Yeah.
yeah, well, no, they're
And
different.
Laws is the British version.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. There's a few countries and using different things. Oh no, that is true. The Harris system, is that what it's called? It was used. I think it was yesterday to take out a drone operations center. So somebody at the Russian drone center, I guess, leaked some information. Probably made a cell phone call, and the Ukrainians used this American missile system basically and took them out.
Yeah,
Yes.
HIMARS, right?
Yeah, HIMARS. Yeah, it's. I always want to call it Harris because when I look at it, I just see it. It's well, no. When I first read it today, I kept thinking not Hamas. What's the other one in? I don't know why.
Hezbollah.
Yeah, Hezbollah. I kept thinking, is that what the hell? I'm reading something wrong. I got to stop and actually read this instead of speed reading. But it was kind of funny. But going to war with NATO is not like going to war with the United States. You're not just facing us. You're facing weapons and jets and shit from not just our. It's not just our arsenal. You got to worry about.
It's
You
like
got to worry
30 or
about all
40
of you.
countries.
It's 30. Well,
yeah.
there's 31 countries in NATO right now. So,
Yeah.
and anybody out using nukes ever. I never thought he ever thought that. It's too hard. I mean, he couldn't take on the United States by itself, much less the United
No,
States and
there's no way.
NATO.
No.
And then India is going to be in there as well. Yeah, India's been wanting to try out some of its garbage. I think it's wanting to get rid of some of its old stuff so it can buy some new stuff. Yeah, it's got some.
Yeah.
It's got some really
But, I mean,
outdated Russian crap.
That's one of the good things that war does do for countries and their economies is it does after the war the economies tend to go up a little, particularly for the victors. The losers not so much. But what happened at the end of World War II? How much money did we give to Japan? How much time and construction did we invest in Japan to rebuild that, and China, and any other country that was touched in Europe? Think about that. I mean, every country that is going to be touched by this war, if there is a World War III, is going to get their economies utterly obliterated and then rebuilt by the winners. And it's either going to be us or the Russians.
So here's a little
China.
weird piece of information for y'all. So Russia and most of the planet right now is low on ammo, including the United States, but China is not. China is